Hi everyone, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface. So, yesterday was the Activision Blizzard Q2 earnings report, and I'm not going to profess to know, my finances. It's not my bag. I don't know what a GAAP deferral is from a GPD. I don't even know what that is. Gotham City Police Department. I don't know. But what I do like to see is facts and figures and how it compares. That's what I like to see. Is this better than this? Is it worse than that? Because when you do an earnings report, it's full of all positive lingo for your shareholders. You could probably lose 100 million and they'll be like, we have, lost 100 million here, but it's provided the growth for us to go, they do anything to make it sound like a positive spin. And this is the Q1 earnings report. I'm going to use this as an example, you see, because it's got the header better than expected, Q1 results. And their prediction was they were going to take in net revenues $1.715 billion throughout Activision Blizzard. The actual number they did take was $1.825 billion. So they did over their prediction by 110 million. Sounds great, doesn't it? Couple of things you have to bear in mind, of course. They're always going to lowball their predictions. They've got to be there or thereabouts. They can't say, we're going to take a $5, and then they take 1.8 billion. It's like, what do you know? Amazing. No, they can't do that. They've got to be there or thereabouts. But you're always going to give yourself to err on the side of caution. Okay, so yeah, the likelihood is they probably thought they were going to take between, let's say, 1.7 and 1.8. So they might have just stretched over what they actually thought they were going to do. So, a little bit better than expected. Fair enough. But the second thing is, how does it compare with last year? And if you look at last year, the same time last year, they took 1.965 billion. So, in reality, they are down 140 million on this time last year. That's just the reality of the matter. Okay. So jumping to this quarter, it's the same story. Better than expected. Better than expected. They predict that they were going to take 1.315 billion, and they actually took 1.396. So they did 81 million over projected. The reality, they probably thought they were going to do between 1.3 and 1.4 billion. So they've pretty much come within what they expected. But they can go with the result because they err on the side of caution with better than expected. You see how it works? That's kind of how it works. Not an exact, and it's a very, idiot's guide version to it, but that's kind of how things like this work in any field. But again, the reality of the matter is, this time last year, at the end of Q2 2018 results, they did 1.641 billion. So they're actually down nearly $250 million on the same time last year. And if you want to compare product, this time last year, World of Warcraft was still in Legion. He says, inflection, because question. And Battle for Azeroth was just around the corner. So they probably would have had a little bit of a surge in subscribers due to that imminent release of the next expansion. Okay. But what has Activision had this time? Well, this year they've had Sekiro, which came out in Q1, but obviously would still have some impact. Crash Team Racing, which did pretty well for all intents and purposes. From what I heard, I can't remember the source, so unfortunately I can't quote the source, but I heard that it sold better than expected, and around 800,000 to 1 million copies already had been sold of Crash Team Racing. So that in effect is a decent one, and we'll get back to Crash Team Racing a little bit later on, actually, because it's going to be quite an interesting figure to drop for something. So the reality is, though, they're down nearly 250 million this time last year, whereas they can still say hey, we're doing better. So what I wanted to focus on this earnings call was not so much the finances, it was actually the MAUs, the monthly active users. And I have actually brought up all the stats. Yeah, I've had a stat busting day, people, of the last year and how many MAUs Blizzard have had over the course of a 12-month period to see how it kind of fluctuates and whether or not it is on a downward trend. And it's got some very interesting results. So let me just scroll down to the MAUs that they're reporting for Q2. Activision Blizzard had 327 million MAUs, monthly active users, in the quarter. 258 million at King, 37 million at Activision, and 32 million at Blizzard Entertainment. So, compared to Q1, it's actually down quite a bit. In Q1, the MAUs were 345 combined for that quarter. So we're down, what? 18 million. 18 million monthly active users have dropped in the last quarter alone, which is substantial. Because if you look at what they're saying, growth year on year on the Candy Crush franchise, growth year over year on Black Ops 4, growth year over year with Hearthstone because of the new expansions that they have released, and subscribers increased in World of Warcraft since mid-May. So World of Warcraft subscribers are up because of the Classic beta announcement, which they do stress here. So Classic, the 15-year-old version of WoW, is officially propping up World of Warcraft, which I've mentioned. Now it's statistically proven for me in black and white. You're welcome. Thank you. So Classic is actually propping up World of Warcraft right now. And according to this, Hearthstone MAUs up, Black Ops up, Candy Crush up. So where have they lost 18 million MAUs? Well, believe it or not, the biggest drop was from King, was from their mobile marketplace. And it dropped from 272 million MAUs down to 258. 14 million out of that 18 million was King. So you think, well, it's mobile. People are going to dip in, dip out of mobile. Yeah, I can kind of understand that. Here's an interesting stat for you. King has been on the up and up until this quarter and then drastically down. Q3 of last year, 262 MAUs. Q4 of last year, 268 MAUs, up 6 million. Q1 of this year, 272 MAUs, up another 4 million. And now, boom, down 14 million in this quarter. World of Warcraft in the last quarter, Blizzard Entertainment in the last quarter, 32 million MAUs. This quarter, 32 million MAUs. Hasn't changed at all. So the other 4 million was Activision. So where are these losses? Well, let's take Blizzard Entertainment to start with, because Blizzard haven't budged. They have 32 million MAUs. So really, if you look at the growth of Hearthstone, it's barely existent. The subscriber increase following the announcement of WoW Classic, barely anything? Or is it that grew a decent amount and this grew a decent amount? Overwatch, saying a relatively stable quarter over quarter with engagement. Nothing, though, about growth. So it looks like Overwatch is the game that is leaking players. Overwatch is leaking the players. Hearthstone has got some. World of Warcraft bringing some back. But Overwatch is underperforming. And that seems to follow the trend of what appears to be going on with Overwatch right now, when we've heard about the whole esport business, the cutting down of the esport business with it, the amount of major tournaments that they're going to have next season as comparative to this season, the constant, it seems anyway, whinging from the community as regards to the game, the balance, the competitive play, etc., etc. And I've had just small dealings, small little chat with Ragtag a little bit ago about Overwatch, because that is his big game, and he's not particularly impressed. So in Blizzard Entertainment, it looks like Overwatch is the weak link, because Heroes of the Storm, it ain't doing shit. That game's gone. It's over. And StarCraft, it's over. They've got no plans for StarCraft at all by the looks of it. None. So Diablo, quiet, nothing here. Why? Nothing goes on at Diablo. Nothing goes on at Diablo. So the games which look like, the three titles which look like it's prop, when I say propping up, you know what I mean. It's the breadwinners for Blizzard Entertainment: Hearthstone, Overwatch, and WoW. Two have had increases. Hearthstone, it's on its way down. So with Activision, where have they lost another 4 million? Because in Q3 of last year, they had 46 million MAU. In Q4, it was up to 53 million. Now, you would expect that because, of course, the Q4 is the quarter that they release the new COD game. That's what's keeping them going. So it was up by 7 million. But by Q1 of this year, they had dropped from 53 down to 41 million. 12 million. Activision, not Activision Blizzard, Activision people gone from whatever titles they've got out there, which, let's be honest, ain't a lot. Why? Passing over of Destiny? The passing over of Destiny? I mean, I'm not saying that that's going to be, taking all of it by any stretch of the imagination. But there will be some loss because they can no longer count Destiny in those MAUs because it's now back at Bungie. So there would be some there, but I don't think there's 12 million people playing bloody Destiny 2. So again, it probably drops from other Call of Duty games, but if they're going into Black Ops 4, they're certainly not going into Black Ops 4 in numbers at all. And then this quarter, from 41 million down to 37. So another 4 million gone, despite alleged growth on Black Ops 4. But of course, there is a substantial loss in MAU, which 29 million in the last 6 months alone. Money, better than expected, but considerably down year over year versus what they did. This isn't a good year for Activision Blizzard. How is it being reflected? I mean, King, you can look at all the different games that King have had. These are all the different titles that King have got. So some, a couple of them discontinued, but most of them are still going. So goodness knows where the substantial 14 million drop came from there. Take your pick. But if we go to the current stock market, this is the last 5-day forecast. I thought it'd be interesting to show you this because look, you can see from the last 5 days, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then today, 5th day, you can see a gradual increase as people are expectant on the Q2 results. We're hearing word that it's better than expected. We're hearing word that it's better than expected. And then, zhoosh, after overnight, when they've had time to analyse the data which has been provided to them, when they've had time to go over it all, the initial kind of interest that the stock market had post closure drops down 3.5%. Last time Q1, after a better than expected quarter, it was dropping down what? Around 5%. So, you know, this is, you can see it's fluctuating a little bit, but this is where they were 5 days ago. So it's still performing better than that. But since they laid off the 800 staff, and essentially since BlizzCon and the complete falling off of their stock price, they've kind of been trading around 43 to 48, 49 for the last, what, 8-9 months? So it's not doing anything to really bolster people to get involved. Now, we got Q3 coming up. Well, we're in Q3 now, sorry. We got Q4 coming up, and we got BlizzCon. And I think this is going to be a massive BlizzCon. I've gone over this before. I think it's going to be a massive BlizzCon in terms of an announcement. I think we're going to get the Overwatch 2 announcement. I think, you know, proper announcement. I think we're going to get the Diablo 4 announcement. There's going to be the new World of Warcraft expansion. And in this quarter, we're going to see exactly how much Classic is going to have an effect on the World of Warcraft and how positive that's going to be to bring people and bring MAUs. So I would expect Q3 to have a Blizzard Entertainment MAU increase from being stagnant on this quarter and down 3 million the quarter before, and even the quarter before that, down 2 million. So World of Warcraft is down, Blizzard Entertainment is down 5 million MAUs in the last year as well. 5 million less people are playing Blizzard titles today than they were a year ago. These are substantial numbers, people. So yes, I've gone on for a bit, but I do hope you enjoyed the vid. I hope you found it interesting at least. If you did, do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel. Follow me on social media and Twitch for live streaming. Links are in the description box down below. And I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care. Bye for now.